Prepare yourselves for a battle of epic proportions between two titans. Feast upon their voices and revel in their words. This is Dueling Ogres.
Hello, Ogres, and welcome to episode 96. Thank you for joining us, as always, on this prolapsed Monday evening, Earth Day, November 21st, 2016. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Brandon Full. Say hello, Brandon.
I'm so glad to be back in the studio.
Yay, back in the studio!
Fuck the Skype episodes.
Aw.
I hate them.
Why?
Because they sound like shit.
They
The
don't
last
sound-
two episodes sounded like shit.
They didn't sound like shit.
I'm gonna lay it out there, and it's nothing to do with you, mostly.
Right.
It's just, I don't know what it was, but the mic made me sound like I was underwater.
It probably has a lot to do with what you have done on your end.
I'm
just going to blame it on you, because
I
I
don't
gave
take
you
responsibility for
I
any
gave
of
you a
that.
mixing board.
I mix constantly.
If you didn't mix it properly, then
I
that's-
turn those dials at random intervals
yeah.
all the time.
Yes. See, I mean,
So I'm
you're
using
doing
it as
everything
intended.
right. I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be the internet.
Yeah. Let's blame it on the internet.
Internet gobbling.
Yes. So, what have you been up to?
Writing out lists of why I hate doing Skype episodes.
Okay. Yeah. How many lists do you have, and how many items are on each list?
Have you ever seen those serial killer based movies where they go into the serial killer's house and they just have notebooks full of like the same name written over and over?
Yeah.
And like camera pans back in horror as the cop sees that there's just hundreds of these notebooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like that at all. I've got like a page and a half.
Wow, I really fell for that setup. I feel stupider for that. I feel stupid enough to say the word stupider.
What have I been doing? I've been playing some Xbox One games, as
Yeah.
per usual. I've been playing some Titanfall 2 multiplayer. I picked up The Witcher 3 on sale. I've been hearing fantastic things about The Witcher 3. It won, like, multiple Game of the Year awards last year.
The Witcher is just one of those games that people really freaking like, and yet you still don't hear a whole lot about it. I don't know. Well, I don't anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm not in that sphere so much anymore.
Like, did you play Fable?
Yeah.
It's a simplification to compare it to Fable exactly,
Right.
but it has some of the same gameplay elements as Fable.
Gotcha.
It's a lot richer. It's a lot deeper with your customization. The story's way more adult. I've seen like 4 pairs of boobs already.
Oh, yeah.
Titter, titter. But yeah, it feels very similar to Fable in the way you play it.
So it's adult Fable.
Yes.
Okay.
Adult Fable. Like
I'm
Snow
in.
White and the 7 Dicks.
What?
It's an adult Fable.
Okay.
There's 7 of them. Sleepy. Also, I've been trying to use exclamation marks more in like my day-to-day conversations with people online.
Okay.
Well, because I feel like I come off super dry online. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, everybody does to a certain extent. You can't really get sarcasm so much.
I mean, I'm incredibly empathic online.
Are you?
You know exactly what I'm thinking and saying and feeling about what I'm saying.
No, because I'll ask you a question. You'll tell me, hey, we're going to record Monday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what time yet. I'm off. And then 2 days later, I'll be like, hey, man, so what's the plan for Monday? And you'll be like, don't you fucking listen, Brandon? I told you I was off Monday. I told you that 2 days ago. That's not empathic at all. You're a jerk. You're
Well,
just
that-
a big jerk.
No, see, I mean, that's what I'm trying to convey. See, you get that I'm being a big jerk about it.
Damn, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. See? I never pick the time. You have to pick the time. Because I'm off. So you have to pick the time that works for you. Because you're the one who will be busy.
Okay.
You'll either have the kid, or you'll have the works, or you'll
Kid
have
works.
the other kids, or you have the working kids.
The working
The
kids.
Chinese kids.
Why Chinese kids?
I don't know. That's the ones that we have slave labor of, right? Korean?
Chinese kids?
Yeah.
We don't have slave labor.
I know. Not us.
Like specifically dueling ogres?
Yeah.
We don't have slave labor. That's
Why not?
ridiculous.
Oh, wait, because it's a terrible thing. I
Yeah.
forgot.
But I mean,
I have to be reminded sometimes.
you get stuff cheaper.
So,
But yeah, exclamation marks, and I have found that you look like a psychopath if you use too many. I try to like interact with, especially people I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to get out there and be more friendly with people. And I send them messages, you know, back and forth like, hey, I'm going to mention you on the podcast just to let you know, blah, blah, blah. I like your stuff. But I overuse them, I feel like. I'm not putting like 2 or 3 at the end of a sentence, but I'm like, great, exclamation mark. Glad to hear from you, exclamation mark. I'll let you know how it goes, exclamation mark, smiley face.
yeah, that's too many.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
and I
like
never
one
use
too many,
them.
at least.
So the great thanks is good.
Well, I mean, you could get away with great comma thanks, exclamation point, and then period at the end. So that takes your margin of exclamation point down, which is what you want.
Should there be, like, for future reference going forward, should I look at a sentence and say, I need to have only 20% exclamation marks in this entire sentence?
No, I would take that more from a paragraph stance.
But I'm not writing paragraphs.
Well, I know,
back
but so that just means that, you know, you want to use your exclamation point sparingly within a sentence. Envision what you're saying in a paragraph. I mean, 20% of 20% in a paragraph would be like a whole sentence. So that'd only be one, because a paragraph is maybe 2 to 5 sentences.
Yeah. Well, depending.
I mean, if it's dialogue, then it's like one. Or part of a sentence.
I think dialogue is all considered one paragraph, right? Even when you space in between, it's still a paragraph?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've written anything.
All I know is I'm just going to keep shoveling exclamation marks in.
Yeah, I think you should.
Well,
I think it'll do well for us.
I don't come off as excitable whenever I interact with people.
Right.
So I try to artificially make myself sound more excited with exclamation marks.
You don't think people just see right through that?
Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm trying, Remington. I'm trying. Exclamation mark.
I'm just trying to help you understand what's going on, you know? I don't know either. It could be anything.
Well, there was, I think I told you this in private. I don't think I've told this on the podcast before. Very early on, I mentioned a book that I'd been reading called Critical Failures, I think. It's a book by Robert Bevan.
Right.
Bevans. It's a D&D book, very R-rated, raunchy, but good. So I mentioned it. And I got a hold of him afterwards and sent him a message through Facebook and said, hey, man, just to let you know, I mentioned your books on my podcast, gave it a positive review. Here's the time stamp if you want to listen to it to have a review to use.
Right.
I didn't review it specifically to try to make a connection with him, but that's what I've heard you're supposed to do with connections, right? Like,
sure.
Hey, I like you. I mentioned this, whatever.
Yeah.
So we had a back and forth about like, hey, thanks for the mention. Oh, nothing. Oh, no problem. I really like your books, blah, blah, blah. And then I don't remember how, but he said something to me and I replied back with a joke and I sent a winky face emoticon.
Yeah.
And then I never heard from him again. And I just like, it took a couple days for it to sink in and I started reading like, man, I thought we were like having a good rapport. Why didn't you reply back? And then that winky face just stared at me like a scarlet letter. And I was like, why would I send a winky face to a guy who's an author I've talked to maybe 8 sentences? Winky face is like 8 or 9 paragraph material, right?
Right.
You don't winky face somebody right off the bat.
No, you really dropped the winky ball on that.
Yeah, I know. It was like black and white stamp of a winky face. So I'm just no good with
interneting.
Yeah. Any sort of it at all. So that's what I've been up to. Winky face.
Just apparently
fumbling my way through the internet like a fucking
and being
idiot.
Very introspective about it, apparently.
I overthink this stuff, man. I do. I'm like, I seriously, when I reply to somebody and it's like, yeah, cool, man, I'll let you know. I mean, I agonize over like, do I put an exclamation mark? Like, because it comes off like, cool, man, I'll let you know, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Or do I seem too overeager? Not to continue to go round and round with this, but yeah, I put a lot of thought into it, more than I should. Yeah, more than anybody should.
Yeah, really. A whole lot. We haven't actually recorded. We kind of dropped the ball on last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we didn't even put anything out about it, so sorry about that.
Yeah.
It was just...
I've had some family stuff, people in the hospital and whatnot, so it's been a little spotty.
And then that took up our usual time that we have to do it. And then I got sick on top of that, so the rest of the week we couldn't even squeeze it in because I sound a little nasally, I'm sure, right now.
Yeah, your nasaliness is really killing this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's really taking it down.
Really, really. I mean, to listen to 2 people sounding like freaks of nasalness.
What's that?
You sound awful all the time.
All right. Noted.
So I'm sure it's terrible for the listener.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just now coming out of that, so I'm still full of snots.
Yeah.
Full of disgusting mucus. Yep.
So you've just been sitting around full of mucus for the last 2 weeks?
Yep, pretty much. But I did learn something.
What's that?
I learned that we have been saying Viscount wrong.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So apparently Viscount Terry is not Viscount Terry, but Viscount Terry. That's how you
Viscount?
say it. Yes.
I mean, you don't put an S in a fucking word.
It's a French word.
And then be like, no, don't say the S.
Yeah, you do if it's French. You know this. You've been taking French.
Yeah, but in any French word I found that has an S in the middle of it, you pronounce it. I've never come across a word that if the S is at the end of a word, most of the time you don't pronounce it.
Right. Well, Viscount is apparently one of those.
Viscount.
Viscount.
So I had two questions. My
Viscount.
first one to you immediately was, did Terry know about this? Did Terry know that we've been saying Viscount
that's true.
wrong?
So I don't know. I haven't asked him. So Terry, when you listen to this, let us know if you were just too kind to let us know that we've been saying it wrong this entire time, or if you just weren't sure yourself.
Well, because I assumed he was the one who suggested we call him Viscount.
Viscount.
Well, that leads me to my second point.
Right.
But he was the one who suggested it, which leads me to assume he knows how to pronounce it. Because we had never even heard of it as a title.
Right. This is true.
Which makes me think
Maybe
that
it's-
he's just trying to make us look like fucking idiots.
Maybe it's just this long-running joke. Maybe he was curious as to how long it would take us to find out.
He obviously doesn't listen to this podcast around his wife or his kids. He's mentioned that before.
Yeah.
But
thank
I like
God.
the new episode comes out, we mention him, and he cues it up right to where we say Viscount Terry, and he's like, they're still saying it wrong. Listen to these idiots.
Oh God, I hope that's the case. That would be hilarious.
Takes a long drawl from his pipe.
Good, yes.
The inner machinations of this author.
Yeah,
It's
that
just
would be so great.
picked us to just destroy. Like, he was the one who commented, right? On our first, after actually I mentioned Robert Bevan's book, that's where Terry came from, as he saw Robert shared it and checked out our podcast.
Right.
What if from the beginning, Terry listened to that episode and he's like, honey, it's the long con.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Maybe you shouldn't comment. Maybe you should tell us in private.
First, I will befriend them. Then they will offer me a title, as is
customary in the podcast world.
I will pick a title they will certainly mispronounce.
Oh.
That'd be great.
So yeah, tell us in private, but keep the mystery alive for the other listeners.
Oh, and second,
I want them to think that we're morons. Not like
we literally have been mispronouncing this word. So there's no mystery there. So the second part of this is, do we now pronounce it Viscount? Do we continue to pronounce it Viscount?
I think we have a duty now that we are smarter to make other people smarter.
So we say Viscount from now on?
Yes. So from now on, we say Viscount.
That's going to be tough, though.
I mean, if you're a sucker, I guess.
Ouch. Harsh words, Rem.
You can't. I used to spell tongue wrong for years until I found out how to spell it right.
Did you spell it Toung?
Yeah.
Tongue.
Yeah, tongue. And as soon as I found out that I was wrong, I corrected it. Are you saying that you can't say Viscount instead of Viscount?
No, I can say Viscount.
It was a really good French accent.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
No, I can say Viscount. It's almost tradition at this point that we call him Viscount. I'm a sucker for tradition, man.
Maybe. Well, you're still a sucker. That's what it all boils down to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dropping fucking 1950s Happy Days insults on me. You're still a sucker,
You're still
that's
a
for
sucker.
sure.
That's for sure.
Ow.
So I found this out watching Star Trek.
Okay.
And they actually used that word in Star Trek during... There was an episode where Moriarty is pinned against Data. And they have the computer up Moriarty's... What?
Oh, no.
What?
They have the data up Moriarty's, and then your hand just started to go up. Like, I don't know who Moriarty is. I assume he's a human, and they're putting a computer up inside of him.
Moriarty, like fucking
Professor Moriarty.
yeah.
So he's a human.
No. It's in the
Holodeck.
yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought your computer was going up a man's anus. Continue. I'm sorry.
On the holodeck,
Yes.
Data is a big,
Sherlock Holmes fan?
yes, thank you. Why? My brain is just still full. It's not. Big Sherlock Holmes fan. So they up Moriarty's artificial intelligence.
Je ne sais quoi?
Yeah. They up his artificial intelligence to create a new Holmes adventure that Data hasn't memorized. So they can see if he is as proficient at solving them as he is in the versions that he already knows.
Okay.
So, well, Moriarty ends up becoming sentient and is aware that he is a hologram.
Okay.
So they finally beat him, and they just lock him away for like 4 years. So then this next episode comes back, and they reopen this can of worms. They accidentally activate Moriarty.
Is this a two-parter, or is this an episode that just happens later in the series?
Yeah, this is an episode that happens way later in the series.
Oh, they're just like, oh, hey, remember Moriarty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. And they had also made a Countess character. Well, anyway, the Countess is the one who says Viscount. And it happened to be that I had subtitles on. And I saw that it said Viscount, and I was like, what the hell? Have we been saying this wrong this whole time? Do I feel like a dumb West Virginian now?
We've been saying it wrong for like 40 episodes.
I know.
Yeah, so you said, and I looked it up on dictionary.com.
Yeah.
And I was like, as I'm searching, I'm
I
thinking,
was hoping that it was like an American
there's
pronunciation.
got to be two ways to say it.
Sure.
No, one pronunciation. Viscount.
Yeah, there was like, I listened to the English version, and it was like, oh, Viscount. And then I listened to an American version, it was like, Viscount.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it went. It probably even sounded just like that. I might have recorded it myself. So yeah, I did the same thing. I was hoping for an alternate, like maybe the Americans were like, fuck you, Frenchie, I'm going to put this S in here. Mark.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, friends. Oh, boop.
It's all right.
That It's All Right was a little more Italian than French.
What? It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it almost sounded a little more Italian. Like, that was more French there.
Uh-huh.
When you first said it, it was more Italian.
Let's try it again. I think I got
It's
this.
all right.
Set me up again. I think I got
I don't
this
remember what I said anymore.
one. Thanks, France.
Thanks, France.
It's all right.
Aye!
Perfect.
Yoo-hoo! All right, so, what do you have for us today, Brandon?
Not a whole lot, honestly.
Okay.
The
Holidays are coming up.
There's been news and stuff that's come out. I mean, everything's about politics and the election, and we have learned our lesson to stay away from that.
That's right. We don't want to
Completely.
talk about it.
So we're not putting any sort of opinion in.
We don't want to talk about it. But the holidays are coming up, and it's a lot more difficult to do anything during the holidays. Like, Kevin's really excited about starting his new quest. And I told him last night, I was like, dude, it's probably not going to be until after the new year before we can even hammer something out, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know. He was like, I'm just excited. I was like, I am too, but there's just going to be too much family stuff happening. It's going to throw off the episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, it's just hard to find time. And I mean, I don't know. I guess it's not that hard to find time.
It's
I have
not.
I have a decent amount of free time.
You really
It's just my
do.
free time, I don't want to do anything.
Right. You just want to be lazy about it. You need to learn to grab that creativity and run with it in whatever it is.
Well, here's the thing. I've been drawing a bunch. I've
Yeah.
been writing some. That's pretty much it. But I've been drawing and writing. I'm doing creative stuff. I've been still learning my French every day. I've been starting to read basic, like, children's books in French, but try to, like, digest them in that way. So I have been doing creative
that's
stuff.
cool. Yeah.
It's just more, I just want to be left the fuck alone. Like, on my days off and my time off, that's why it's so hard for me to get out, is I just want people to just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Especially working at NASA, where it's such a high-pressure sales environment.
Yeah. I understand. That joke will not get old for me.
No.
It's so good.
I think I've
Cracks me up
mentioned
every time.
every episode since I got hired at NASA that I work at NASA.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't I?
Exactly.
Because it's such a
NASA,
big deal.
right?
Since you happened to bring up, were you going somewhere with
No, just saying that it's a little tough to get anything done during the holidays.
Okay. I figured I'd bring up, since you mentioned Kevin running a campaign,
Okay.
talking about D&D,
Sure.
obviously. There's this new D20 system called Starfinder coming out. Have you seen anything about this?
I saw an article shared. I hadn't had a chance to read it.
So it's a game set in Pathfinder. They're calling it science fiction fantasy,
Okay.
which I know a lot of people refer to Star Wars as science fiction fantasy.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a mix of, like, elves and dwarfs and wizards.
In space.
Perfect. Traveling around on dwarven spaceships, I guess, and doing space adventures.
Huh.
It looks cool, though, because you get to make a crew. There's rules for like getting a crew. There's rules for flying a ship.
Yeah.
And here's a quick rundown of how the world works. Okay, so this is a little lengthy, but I'll read it quickly and skip over a little bit.
Okay.
Because I love this premise, because it does take place in the Pathfinder universe.
Okay.
In our game, faster-than-light travel is a fairly recent phenomenon, Sutter said. Sutter's one of the head designers.
Okay.
A few centuries ago, a collective of artificial intelligences became so complex that they literally ascended to godhood, in the process discovering or creating a new dimension reachable only through their proprietary technology. Called the Drift, this hyperspace-style dimension connects every point in the galaxy and allows you to travel quickly between them, but every time you jump through it, it rips off chunks of the afterlife, places like heaven and hell, and adds them to itself. So sometimes when you make a jump to a distant star, you find yourself confronting a bunch of pissed-off demons and the crumbling ruins of their throne room, or maybe a flight of angels angry at being trapped in the shapeless void. And of course, a lot of the older gods aren't too keen about this upstart machine god cornering the market on interstellar travel, or using it to grow its own domain at their expense.
That sounds terrible for those, like, angels and demons.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a cool premise that I'm sure has been done before, I don't know. But as far as science fiction goes, I am not familiar or have never heard of that kind of premise specifically.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah, totally.
So you're traveling around faster than light. It has to feed off of the heaven and hell dimensions to fuel itself. So the more people use it, the bigger it grows as a god and the bigger its influence is.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that's a classic, like, was it a Star Trek episode where there's an original Star Trek episode where they come across a monster that when they use the phasers on it, it gets bigger?
Oh, I'm sure there was.
So, the more
remember.
they use it, the more overpowering it becomes. That's not a very good
I understand what you
analogy.
mean, and I'm sure it happened. I mean,
yeah. Well, just the idea with technology is neat. Like
Yeah.
that relation of you're a creator of your own demise because you keep using this technology because it's cool, but the more you use it, the more oppressive it gets.
right. Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing has been done before, for sure. But I was trying to think of the specific Star Trek episode, but I don't know.
I think it's Boring Space Plot 9.
Now,
Season 3.
original Star Trek was not that boring.
For the audience listening at home,
It
I
was
gave
just-
a non-committal shrug.
It was just a different. I think for viewers of our age, it's a different time. You know. Now, next gen, I will give you that. Next gen is boring as fuck, but I love it.
Let's talk about space laws.
Let's talk about space politics.
What are your thoughts on role-playing in like a sci-fi setting? Because I know that we've tried the Star Wars RPG in high school.
Right.
But I mean, we would do like 1 and 2 shots, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
It never really caught on with us, any of the sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we've brought space even into our fantasy before, with the idea that, like, in the Eberron campaign setting, the ancient, like, Cyclopses or whatever, they were aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we brought that in, and then we ended up going to space. But it seems like we have a really rough time doing the same kinds of quests in space as we do in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was very much the go into the basement and kill 20 rats kind of quest.
But it was going to the space basement.
Yeah, go into the space basement and kill 20 blargs.
Space rats.
Flargs.
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 That's what we call space rats.
Yeah.
Flargs.
But it just seemed it seemed weird.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, isn't this just a kill 20 things quest? Somehow it's less exciting in space. I guess because you're expecting to do more, or maybe it's just easier to kill things with a phaser. I don't know.
remember that. Like it ended up being more enjoyable, and we only played it for a couple of sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like we took a spaceship, went to space.
Deep Space Nine, in fact.
Yeah. I got that one dude from Deep Space Nine who never talks. I got him to talk. Apparently there's some dude who's always in the bar who's never spoken.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got him to talk because he spoke Goblin or something.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. The only reason
And he was real surprised and was like, hey.
The only reason that he never spoke to anybody. What is his name? Oh my god. I can't remember. Kevin would know right off the top of his head. It was Blarg, yeah. Deep Space Nine fans will know this. But yeah, he never talks to anybody. And apparently it's because he only speaks Goblin. So nobody knew how to speak his language except for Brandon, who came from a fantasy realm.
Yeah.
and happen to speak Goblin.
See, I feel like, and I'm reading about this Starfinder thing, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Granted, the whole magic in space has been done. There was a world called Spelljammer that was in D&D.
Yeah.
That was real big into, like, you use magic to power vehicles, spaceships, and go to different planets and whatnot. Spelljammer, we've never played it. I can't say it's not super well known, but we've never played it.
Right,
so.
yeah.
But I feel like in something like this, the game is going to live or die, for me anyway, on how space combat works. Because if there's such a focus, like it mentions, crewing your ship and upgrading your ship and all kinds of rules for building your ships. If ship space combat's boring, like ship-to-ship combat, or it's super convoluted, it's not fun. You know?
Yeah, that's one of those things where whenever you put a vehicle in between the visceral feeling of combat, like that's one of the reasons why I love fantasy-style RPG combat. Is because it's very visceral. I mean, you're getting in there and you're doing something. You're not using a vehicle to end the fight.
Yeah.
There's something inherently boring for me about that. Like, I'd rather get my hands dirty and get blood all over myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, that's just me.
Like it paints a better picture for you, or it's more fun for you.
Yeah.
If you know your characters there, just...
Yeah, it's
Nose
not like,
deep in
I'm in a
entrails.
starfighter, I fly around, I blew this guy out of the sky.
Well, if you deliver it like that.
Well, but that's just it. I mean, even if I were to spice it up, the end result is just like, or even in space, it would just be
Yeah.
because explosions don't happen in space. It would just collapse in on itself.
Man, you are well on your way to becoming a Foley artist.
I know.
Well, you watch... That was good.
Thank you.
You watch space movies and space TV shows and space operas or whatever.
Right.
Just add space in front of things.
Space thing.
Like ship-to-ship combat in those cases is super exciting. And if done well in an RPG and I can be part of that, it would be fantastic. Like imagine the main heroes. Did you watch Firefly, or is that one that you missed? Yeah. Okay, you did watch Firefly. So
I watched Serenity. I've seen one or two Fireflies here.
So Firefly is a good example then. Like the ship's in combat with another ship and the captains or the pilots, doing these crazy maneuvers while the lasers are chasing them. And then the gunner's in the other position trying to get a lock on. And then the other ship hits it and the engine sparks and the engineer's down there and they're like trying to put out fires and like, crank it up. We got to get out of here. Like all of that stuff exciting happening at once sounds badass, especially if we're playing together and you're the engineer and I'm the pilot. That's true. The problem is when it breaks down, it's like, okay, Brandon, roll to pilot the ship. I got a 12.
Yeah,
you kind of move. You go a little bit to the left and they miss. Remington, the engine's on fire. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Putting it into a turn-based scenario seems to take the fun out of it.
Yeah, and I guess you could go skill challenge with it.
Yeah, I suppose you could. I think it falls to the DM or the GM.
Well, and I was delivering that like in a Ben Stein voice, you know, like Remington. But even then, even if I'm super like sparks are flying everywhere and there's oil leaking in through your boots and I'm waving my arms like Kermit the Frog while I'm describing it.
Yay!
To accent the chaos.
Yeah.
Now roll to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
8.
I guess, it'd probably be even better if you had multiple rolls lined up beforehand. Like, that's a DMing trick, anyway, to move combat and stuff along in these turn-based things where you pre-roll stuff. I think that in this case, that would be one of the best ways to do it. Would really be just, all right, guys, we're getting ready to do some combat. Pre-roll 20s real quick. Add your stats to them, and then we'll just roll damage. So there's your hit, or we'll roll damage when it happens. But there's your hit, there's your skill checks or your, whatevers.
Yeah, and I know that that can speed stuff up, but I also feel like it takes away some of the interactivity of combat. Because then if everybody has everything pre-rolled, you're just basically telling them a story.
But that story is still impacted on whether they roll or whether they hit or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just based off of, for me, preference of how I would like to play.
Yeah.
I don't like to have everything rolled ahead of time because then it's just like, well, I know that my next attack I'm going to miss no matter what.
Right.
Because I see it out there.
Yeah.
So, but, there's benefits to it as well.
Well, you could even take it a little further and just have them write it down on a piece of paper and hand it over to the DM, and then they just pick and mark out whichever one they do.
Well, I mean, or you could do like you do, where you just roll a whole bunch of them and write down whatever numbers you think are going to hit, and then show them to me as if you rolled it already, which is what you do in combat pretty much every time.
Wait, what?
Like whenever we're doing combat, and you will say, I pre-rolled my number. You never pre-rolled a number that you missed when we've played. It's always you pre-rolled a number that you hit, and I've seen this in the paper. I've literally watched you do it. I'm not saying you do it all the time, but I've watched you do this, where you'll roll to pre-roll for something, and you'll get a low number and look at it, and then pick it up and roll again. I'm not saying you're a cheater specifically, because everybody does that, but
yeah,
that's the downside.
Totally cheating.
That's the downside to pre-rolling. And I'm not even saying it to call you out, because you've seen me see you, and you've done it so often you don't even hide it. You're just like, nope, not that one.
We've all fudged numbers.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, does that sound like something?
And that's to that end. Just to continue on that point.
Yeah,
I'll even take a lower number, but I just don't want to take a 1.
Yeah,
like usually if you see me re-roll, it's probably because it's a 1.
That's part of the fun, though.
I know, but I hate critical failure.
Your weapon catches on fire and kills your whole family. Way to roll a 1, dumbass.
Your entire family line has been wiped from existence. Good job, asshole.
All because I rolled a natural 1 on climbing a rope.
Yes, fuck you. And your ancestors.
Just try to climb a tree to catch a squirrel.
That squirrel fucking murdered your entire family. I hope you can live with yourself in hell.
Good game, guys. But does this sound like something you would ever be interested in playing? Like, do you want to give it a shot sometime when it comes out?
I mean, I'm up for anything. Really, I think it's like playing the superhero thing. I feel like there's a lot of room to sit around. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason in a fantasy setting, you're still moving around. Like, you're going from place to place. You're running into adventures. You know, if you're riding on a ship, I guess, it can still happen, but it just seems so much more boring to me when it does.
Well, you're going to have less random encounters in the ship. If it's like, okay, you guys are on your ship and it's going to take you 3 space weeks to get there, which is 6 normal weeks. Yeah, you might run into like a pirate every so often, but then you go into space combat. Well, what kind of stuff are you going to run into on a regular basis on the actual ship? Like, right. A random encounter generator. I mean, I guess on that generator you could have, like engine catches fire. Got to fix that.
Yeah.
And it is a mix of fantasy and whatever else. So maybe like there's
it's like
diesel elementals.
Yeah.
Space ships run off diesel.
Yeah, ships run off of diesel. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I remember we played, what was it? It was DC, wasn't it?
Oh, when we played superheroes?
Yeah.
When we played superheroes together, bro?
Yeah, we totally played superheroes.
As mutants and masterminds.
Oh, yeah. And we had a Fortress of Solitude, as it were, or Titan Tower, I think is basically what it was. And, until a big bad guy attacked, we just sat around.
Yeah.
It was incredibly boring.
I want to play Sudoku.
Yeah. And we did that a lot, because I don't remember who was DMing.
I would probably guess Ryan. He was real big into Mutants and Masterminds, like wanting us to play it.
Yeah, I don't remember. There was just, I don't know. It got to the point where we were just kind of sitting around, and he'd say, well, what do you guys want to do? And we're just like, nothing. It was very defeating.
Well, and I think that sounds like an issue where he started you guys out with too much stuff.
Yeah. Maybe.
And that's where I think, actually, you bringing that up made me think of something that kind of makes me more excited for Starfinder, is starting at level 1.
Yeah.
Maybe one of you guys has some real shithole junk ship that only holds 2 people and you've got 4 that you need to get off planet. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Or you have no ship and you got to steal one, or you start on this cool planet. Even to ease people into it, the DM starts you on a fantasy-ish planet.
Yeah.
And you guys have to go and kill normal rats, not Blarg space rats.
Right.
To get enough money, and in there you find like a core to a ship, and you see, that'd be cool. Like starting out in like little junker ships and trying to upgrade it. That stuff sounds fun.
Yeah, that sounds, and there's a whole lot more danger element to it, because you fuck up in space and you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, you're dead.
You'd have to let the players know, if I were to run because I kind of want to run a campaign. I turned all around on this.
Yeah.
to just let the players know going in, like, if you guys die in space or if your ship explodes in space, you're dead. It's not like a Deus Ex Machina, I'm not going to save you. You're accepting this danger when you go travel in space.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's something we really haven't done a whole lot of.
I've killed you guys a lot, especially in like the past 5 years or so.
Yeah, you have, but I mean, there's always some sort of way that we either bring them back, pay for resurrection, or whatever.
You guys get so pissy when
That's because we put a lot of time and effort into building those characters.
I put a lot of time and effort into building my worlds, and then you guys just burn cities to the ground.
Yeah, but that's just how the game is done. That's just how the game is done for the GM. You fucking build this lush and lavish world, and the PC goes off to the west, and you have nothing for the west. That's just, welcome to DM land, Brandon. Every DM has to deal with that bullshit.
You look like you're revving up to slap me.
I might be. I've been in that shoe. Okay. Brandon Full, asshole of the year.
The year?
Of the year.
Damn, it's almost December, too. Like, you've got 11 months to pick from.
Yeah, I do. This is the biggest asshole statement you've ever made. Look at me on my world.
You know, well, I will accept my award with grace.
My poor world. Sorry. Just the more I think about doing it, the meaner it is, and then the funnier it is.
My pages of creation.
The players aren't doing what I want them to do. Oh, jeez.
I'm going to take my graphing paper and go home.
Oh, jeez. That's so funny.
So,
but yeah, anyway. I think, I would like to see you running a campaign, and I think you would know as many years as we have now, because that's the other thing that we suffered from, is nobody had the years of experience of DMing that we do now. So I think that's another portion that really enters into this equation. I think you would run a really good quest on it.
I love DMing. I mean, for sure I like playing Dungeons and Dragons, and if I had to choose, it would probably be a coin flip.
Yeah.
But anytime there's ever a group of people who are like, oh, we want to play, we don't really know if there's a DM, I'm always up for it.
Yeah.
I love creating worlds and stories and stuff.
Yeah, I've really stopped doing that. It's like I've stopped being creative. It's weird. I don't like it.
Well, I would say that the working on the podcast, I mean, it's not entirely... It depends on what you describe as creative, I guess, or how you define it. But, editing the podcast, that's creative, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, because really I draw out a joke or I cut it short just to really make sure that it sells. But, yeah, it's just a different kind of beast. It's a different kind of thinking entirely.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're still doing something, though.
Sure.
Like, what would you be doing creatively if you could? Or what do you feel like creatively you have left by the wayside?
I just don't feel that my world building is as good as it used to be. Like, I would usually take Herdenvar was the last one that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, it was Serpent Kingdoms. And it was just like, it was very much based on the weather of the world that we were in, the part of the world that we were in. Like, Serpent Kingdoms was very deserty.
Yeah.
Herdenvar was very cold. It is so cold. That was the tagline of the quest.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it is so cold. It's Herdenvar. It is so cold. Yeah.
So
I love
like
the way that started out.
The person who's scripting it is just commenting on things around them.
Yeah.
Herdenvar. What do I... God, it's so cold.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yeah. I like that.
Oh, no, I think that's good. There's all kinds of different ways to world build, and I think you took a good way to do it. You decided, like, this world's going to be cold.
Yeah.
So I have my basis. Everything's based around things being cold. How would people live if things were cold?
Yeah. But you only have, like, 4, maybe 5 seasons to choose from. And 2 of those are like, oh, this is rather clement. So
yeah, but I mean,
it's either really hot or really cold. Otherwise, it's just comfortable.
It wasn't just that it was cold. I mean, you didn't pick like it's snowy and that's it, and we'll go from there. I mean, It was like oppressively cold.
Yeah,
that by itself, there's all kinds of different ranges of winter you can pick from.
Yeah, but then the funny thing is the whole point of that was to really drive home the weather effects of D&D, and I never used them to their full effect.
You didn't really use them that much at all.
No.
I think there was some cold stuff. But
well, and I think that's kind of a good thing because really it was almost a background. And the weather always tends to be a background anyway. Because once you get into battle and into fight, you kind of forget the weather exists.
Yeah.
But
like the weather sets a good mood, for sure.
Yeah. And that's fine and dandy. But the weather itself can be a formidable enemy. And that was kind of what I was hoping to do, was to learn those rules well enough that I could make the weather an enemy that you couldn't beat.
Yeah.
That you had to really scramble to keep alive. And it's just that there were so many other things that were going on, which I guess is a good thing, that you guys didn't have to contend with the weather as a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, the weather rules are hard.
They are.
That's really what it comes down to.
They really are.
Well, because I had that desert campaign with the, I think the book's called Sandstorm that I got, the 35 book.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a bunch of rules for being out in the heat and being on like the glass oceans where it's so hot that the reflections will burn you. And I mean, those are cool rules. And I went into it thinking the same thing, like, because the book goes real big into, not every encounter has to be a monster or a dungeon. You can have a good encounter of the players trying to cross 2 miles of like a whipping sandstorm and really make it interesting. So I was sold on it. I was looking at rules and stuff. But then when it got down to actually implement it, it's just like, how am I going to make that interesting? Mm-hmm. Like, all right, guys, roll again for not getting sanded too much.
Right.
You got extra sand in your socks.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Take 1 uncomfortability damage.
1 uncomfortability damage. That's funny. But yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to, is that the weather effects just seem like it can be a formidable enemy, but you really have to know how to spin that.
I think in the hands of the right DM, they would be super good.
Yeah.
But I think you and I both, we focus on different things, but you and I both are more, here's the thing in front of you, hit it with a sword.
Yeah.
Here's the door, also hit it with a sword, I guess.
Yeah, because you don't have anybody who can pick a lock, hit it with a sword.
Because the door's a mimic, lock's a mimic, everything's a fucking mimic.
Everything's a mimic. And behind that is a beholder.
Who's actually a mimic. Man, you're really going to town on that.
Cough drop?
Cough drop, yeah.
I know, I took it out of my mouth because it was starting to rattle too much.
Okay, so the other thing I figure we would discuss, since we are already short on time, because we started talking about D&D.
Yeah, we got on a tangent.
That does it. The NES Classic Console.
Mm-hmm.
Because I work at NASA, I get a lot of people asking me if I know when we're going to get more NES Classic Consoles in.
Right.
So, no, I don't, 1.
Yeah.
And 2, man, what a clusterfuck that whole thing was.
Oh, yeah. So we started talking about this before off mic.
Yeah, so I probably will repeat myself a little bit.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just... so, why is it you don't know, right?
Oh, yeah, there's really no word. I have a quote from Nintendo here on what happens.
Shit. I dropped my cough.
You dropped your cough drop. It is a cough drop!
Oh, my God!
Wow, 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 wow.
Now it's a cat drop. Covered in cat hair.
I should say that both of the articles that I was getting information from, the Starfinder one and this, are from Polygon.
Okay.
So I'm not reading anything from them specifically, just quotes that they posted, but I figure I should cite my work.
Yeah, we should always try and
a very well-known gaming website who is way more famous than we will ever be. I should throw them a bone and mention them.
That's right. Yeah, totally.
Hey, Polygon.com. You heard of this, Rem?
You
heard of this thing?
No. I've heard of Polygons before, but I've never heard of a .com.
Fucking ads on this site. Come on, Polygon.
Fucking ads. Come on, Polygon. Get your shit together. What, you need everybody to pay for all of your shit?
James Polygon is listening right now, and he is upset.
Yes.
So basically, everybody's talking about the NES mini console.
Right.
I would venture anybody listening knows what it is.
Yeah.
We talked about it in an episode 3-4 months ago, and I talked about how it's a perfect branding gift.
Yeah.
And how I didn't foresee it being super popular. I don't remember. I don't think. Do you remember what my opinions were on that at all?
I don't know. I mean, I think that we said that there's potential for it, because I think you were of the mind that it wouldn't be all that popular, and I said, but nostalgia brand it, and you were like, yeah. I think that's how that went.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be what it is. I've had people not just ask me specifically, but just seen on Facebook, people that in a million years I wouldn't have thought would give 2 shits about a Nintendo console. Talking about, hey, does anybody know where I can get one of these mini consoles?
Right.
I seriously underestimated the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a friend of mine ask me, a mutual friend of ours, and he's sort of a gamer, like a newer generation gamer, but he asked me if I could get one, through space. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I didn't figure it'd be something you were interested in, but I can keep an eye out for one. And he said, I want to share with my kids. I want to share the games that I played when I was young with my kids.
Yeah.
And I did not think about that at all. That's why a lot of people are going to be wanting to get them.
That's why you're stupid.
I know. But here is my counterpoint. I can tell you because I collect retro systems.
Right.
I have a 9-year-old daughter. I had to do the math and figure out. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And she does not care at all about retro games.
Yeah.
I've hooked up the Nintendo, 5 minutes. I mean, you've got fucking YouTube in your pocket on a phone.
Yeah.
Kids don't care about retro games really anymore.
Yeah.
And any parent that says, my kid sat and played Mario for 4 hours, that parent's a fucking liar, and they should be drug out into the street and burned on a cross.
That escalated quickly. I mean, there are some kids that will play those games.
No, there's not.
There are.
Because if my kid doesn't do it, then it doesn't exist.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, granted, your kid should be cool enough to be playing those, but
You'd think.
So
Nintendo just shorted everybody.
Yeah. So it's sold out right now. You basically can't get it.
It's sold out all immediately.
Yeah.
There's some sites like Walmart, I think, and Amazon both had larger amounts because they're gigantic. But they would put them up for sale like they're going on sale at 2 o'clock on our website, 2 p.m. every day. We're putting up 50 or 100 or however many.
Right.
And within less than a minute sold out because people are watching them.
Yeah.
So this quote from Nintendo here says, the Nintendo Entertainment System NES Classic Edition system is a hot item, and we are working hard to keep up with consumer demand. There will be a steady flow of additional systems through the holiday shopping season and into the new year. Please contact your local retailers to check product availability.
Right.
So, a very simple, there are more coming, guys, I guess, from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Non-committal.
Through the holiday season, as if that means anything.
Because January's holiday season, right? Like, holiday season kind of extends past.
Sure, I would say so. I mean, tax could be a holiday season.
Nintendo, and I know we've talked about it probably ad nauseum at this point, but Nintendo just fucks up all the time.
Yeah.
But they fuck up upward. They still continue to succeed in what they're doing because they have such a giant base to build off of.
Right.
And here's my question to you, Remington.
Yeah.
Is this an intentional fuck up or a not intentional fuck up?
And that's really the question. There's no reason why they wouldn't assume that this was just going to be crazy popular.
Well, and there's the argument that they didn't know how big it was going to be.
That's a stupid argument, though.
Well, I mean, I didn't know.
Right.
And I'm not saying that me as one person. But...
Sure, but and I told you when we talked about this, nostalgia, Brandon, and you were like, yeah, maybe, I guess. And then, boom, it's fucking nostalgia, and it's sold out because everybody wants fucking nostalgia. They always do. Nostalgia sells. And Nintendo should know that. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who holds on to their fucking ancient past, Japan is it.
Yeah.
So they should know from nostalgia.
Well,
They should know from nostalgia, Brandon. I mean, what are you going to do?
Nintendo Japan and Nintendo of America are two separate
That's
entities.
true, but...
And there's been issues with the communication between them before.
Sure. Yeah.
With things not translating, with Nintendo of Japan viewing commerce in a Japanese way, putting it onto Nintendo of America, and then you have these bizarre things that happen.
Right.
But I feel very strongly that Nintendo is super smart business-wise because they manufacture this. I've been saying it forever, that Nintendo manufactures scarcity. They don't release nearly enough of these mini consoles. They hype them to fuck. I mean, these things were hyped up.
And to that, I agree with you. I think it's a manufactured shortage.
And they did the same thing with the Wii. They release a small amount so people line up for them. News runs, fucking Polygon websites like that are posting pictures of people lined up for blocks to get 8 that a store gets.
Right.
The Walmart where I work, the Walmart by NASA, somebody came in to buy space boots. I don't know. And they told me that their Walmart got 15.
Yeah.
They are the 3rd biggest Walmart in America.
Wow.
And they got 15 of them.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Everybody wants one of these. That's, millions of people. And you're only going to send out 15 a week or 15 every couple weeks.
Yeah. So I don't know if this has the adverse effect or not. Like, are people seeing that places are sold out and saying, I've got to look even more for one? Or are people just immediately going to lose interest? And no, I can answer that already. I can answer myself. Thank you, Brandon. People aren't going to lose interest because people keep fucking hitting me up and posting online about it and asking, hey, when are more coming? When are more coming?
Yeah, that's true. We asked you today. That's where this all came from.
Yeah.
We wondered when NASA was going to get more.
I don't know. Like, Nintendo is not going anywhere
No.
for a while.
Mm-mm.
It's just strange marketing choices.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
The
I don't like
amiibos, which I mentioned last week,
it. Yeah,
that I've been collecting now a little bit.
yeah.
The shortages on amiibos, reading into it, has just been ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Huh.
They'll release like a collector's edition, like, hey, we're doing a new run of Super Smash Brothers amiibos. Everybody gets 2 in your store.
Yeah.
We don't know when more are coming. That's all we made. We didn't know people wanted them. Like, is that incompetency then?
Well,
'Cause
for
Nintendo-
those, I don't think so, because that's one of those. I mean, Skylanders is pretty popular, but for a younger crowd, it seems like. I mean, that it hit its stride and then it kind of died off. I think.
Skylanders?
Yeah.
I can tell you from
You could probably know
from
more.
the NASA gift shop, Skylanders sells still.
Okay.
And like a new Skylanders box set, like a new one just came out a couple weeks ago, I think, Imaginator or something or other, dark bullshits.
Yeah.
$75 for like just a new board, I think, and a couple new figures. And I mean, they sold.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, if the numbers are there, then there's no reason for it. It has to be a manufacturing shortage.
And we know fuck all about business, really.
Sure.
About business production and things like that. But they're selling the classic console for $60.
Yeah.
It has to be basically, you could build one yourself minus the casing with a Raspberry Pi for like $10, $15 that would hold more games. It's basically what it is an emulator with an HDMI output inside of a Nintendo case.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost them that much money to make.
Right.
Why wouldn't they just produce the fuck out of that?
Yeah.
Unless they want it to be, there's no consoles on the shelf, so people want more, as opposed to seeing a lot of consoles on the shelves. You know?
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we only have just a couple minutes left.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and we actually had a question from our Twitter sphere,
Ooh.
our Twitterverse, the thing that we never check because we're assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from 1999 when we first got this message.
So this is from @mumfree999, and he wanted to know, how does he get better at WoW, and is the game Eclipse Phase fun or easy to learn? Now, we've talked to this guy before. We've got him on Facebook, and for some reason, I decided it would just be easier to go with the Twitter handle.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's just kind of what you do.
Yeah.
So he collects a lot of games. He has a lot of tabletop games. I mean, if you scroll through his pictures and stuff, I mean, he's just got pictures of games and games and games. It's really interesting. The problem asking us a question about Eclipse Phase is that neither of us had ever heard of it, right?
Yes.
I guess it's a tabletop game.
You were pulling up some information about it, right?
Yeah, I was, but I didn't get a good chance to read because we really had to get going.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he said that the tabletop game question is just one that he picked. He has a lot of games on his bookshelf that he hasn't had time to learn yet. So, and to that end, have you ever heard of maybe Knights, Black Agents, Feng Shui 2?
No.
No.
Board games is one of those things that I just have never really got into. My older brother...
Board or even tabletop. I think he said they're all tabletop. So, I mean, I guess does that mean RPG tabletop games? Or
A tabletop game can mean just like a board game.
Yeah.
Like a board game... See, I don't know. There's a whole culture. Like I was saying, my older brother runs the board game club at like the local library and has just bookshelves full of them. It's insane how many he has. So I could be wrong here, but I think a board game means that you actually have a board, whereas a tabletop game is any sort of thing like Settlers of Catan. Anything that isn't relegated just to a board.
Yeah.
It's got cards, pieces, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I assume. I'm pulling that out of my ass, but it sounds true enough that I'm going to stick to it until I die.
Okay. So the quick answer on the Eclipse Phase thing is we have no idea.
Yes.
But if you want to play it, if you want to take the time to actually sit down and play it, let us know. Maybe if there's a way that we could do it over Skype or something, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, sure. So there's that, Now, as to how to be a better WoW player.
I got this one.
Okay.
Take your hard drive out of your computer, the one that WoW is installed on.
Yeah.
Take it outside. Find a lake, somewhere nice day. Bring yourself a lunch and a picnic basket.
Yeah. Maybe somewhere in England, northern England.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially like in the summertime when the rocks are starting to bloom in England or whatever's there.
Yeah.
Treat yourself to a nice...
The peat moss is very thick.
Yeah. It's the thickest peat moss I've ever seen. Treat yourself to a nice sandwich, lunch meat, loose meat sandwich. have some champagne with a strawberry, and then when you're done, just hurl that hard drive straight into the lock and never look back.
Yeah, the Lady of the Lake will thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you haven't become better at WoW, but you have bettered yourself.
oh, poor WoW players.
I think that's probably half our listenership is WoW players.
Maybe.
That you've recruited.
Sure,
I just continuously insult them.
Yeah, I think they're used to it by now. They should be. For my answer, it's keep playing WoW. But there are a lot of websites that you can build off of. The most important thing for me as a WoW player ultimately is to continue having fun with the game. Like, if you want to be a competitive WoW player, you're asking the wrong person.
It's about speccing, isn't it? A lot of it is speccing yourself correctly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with your gear, but really, Blizzard has kind of simplified that over the past couple of expansions. Your gear kind of morphs to fit your character a little bit. So it used to be that you'd really have to go on a hunt for a specific kind of gear that had a specific stat for you. Well, they've made the stats smaller. You have fewer stats to have to stack, or they've become more intertwined between the classes. So like mastery for one class provides a different benefit for mastery than in another class. But mastery is still a stat that you may want to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same stat, but it affects the classes slightly different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a plus, because you can get gear that has mastery on it, and the mastery is just an arbitrary number that's attached to the gear. And that raises that if that's what your build needs, your spec needs.
Okay.
So that's one plus. For the main stats where maybe intellect is good for a priest and constitution is good for a paladin, if you get a piece of gear that is, it'll have both stats listed and one will be grayed out.
So whatever class you are is the one that it affects?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's another. So they've really made gear more morphy. It's really nice that way. So gear is kind of one of those things you still want to strive for. You still want to better your gear from a number standpoint. But really, go on to websites like Icy Veins. They have they're personally the best place that I go to get an idea of how to play my spec. Like whatever I choose, so say Shadow Priest. And I go and I look at their rotations, and there's usually one or two rotations. But then make that rotation your own for casting spells. Set up your key binds, set up your the way you push the buttons in a way that makes sense and is most effective for you. That's the real thing. Because if you try to go by what they have, if you can't get yourself comfortable with the way that they push the buttons or the set rotation that they have, then you're not going to be as effective as they are. You're going to be slower than them. You're not going to have a high enough output of DPS, damage per second.
So you're saying look on there as a jumping off point?
Yeah, as a guide.
But really, when it comes down to it, it's what you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, and play other classes. Challenge yourself. Don't just, if you're comfortable with a caster, that's great, but go ahead and make yourself a tank.
Okay, because then you're going to know what it's like for the other person when they play, and how a caster, like if your main's a caster, you play as a tank, and you're going through raids, and you see what the caster does, now you're getting an idea of how somebody else plays a caster and how you should.
Yeah.
Did I do good, Rem?
Yeah. I mean, that's one part of it. And also you can understand, like, one of the biggest problems is raiding is that people get locked into their own little worlds. Somebody enjoys playing a caster, and then all of the rest of the characters that they make are casters. And then they have no understanding of what a close range DPS or what a tank is going. Where a caster can be further away, they can avoid the green stuff on the floor, better. Or they're so in tune with casting that they forget to move out of it. That's usually what happens. There's a lot more motion involved in a close combat thing. You're moving around a lot more. Unless you're me as a paladin tank and I just stand there and soak the damage. So, I mean, I'm not the best tank to that end because I don't necessarily move out of stuff. But that's that caster mentality that I've had for a long time. The only difference is that I can soak more damage because I'm a tank.
Okay.
And on top of being a tank, healers are on top of me a lot more. So they know that because I'm the tank, they want to keep me alive.
They want to be on top of you.
Yeah, they want to be on top of me. I mean, that's the most desirable thing as a tank. You want to have people on top of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess boils down to the advice is get on top of a tank.
Yeah.
As far as PvP goes, you don't really have a whole lot of advice because you're not a PvPer.
Yeah, PvP is a different kind of beast.
That's all about speccing, right? Like, I imagine PvP is way more...
It used to be. I mean, you used to have 2 separate gear stats. Now, I mean, they've really been changing the dynamic of PvP, and I am not up on it.
Okay.
I really have no idea. It can be a lot of fun, though. I mean, there's some new stuff coming out that we were watching with BlizzCon that looks like it's going to be even more fun for people who don't PvP to come in and PvP.
No, we didn't do a BlizzCon episode.
No, we
year.
didn't. We didn't do a BlizzCon this.
Are you planning on it?
No, it's fine.
Was there not enough stuff to talk about?
I mean, I'm sure I could find enough stuff to talk about, but it's just one of those things. By this point, it's already dead and gone.
Yeah.
Like, doing a BlizzCon episode, you kind of want to do it during or right after BlizzCon. So
I'm gonna miss it. I think, as much as I hate everyone that we've done.
Yeah,
it's kind of a thing.
It's all right. We'll do it next year.
It got me. We should, because it almost gets me into the holiday spirit. To now, we're doing a BlizzCon episode. The holidays are coming up.
Everything happened so fast this year. Has this year been fast for you?
Kinda, I'd say so. I mean, I quit my job.
Yeah.
I started my new job.
Yeah. At NASA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I quit my old job at a literal walking version of hell that we both worked at.
Yeah.
Run by a family of devils.
Yeah.
Monsters, just literal. I'm just gonna slander and libel whichever one's applicable. I'm gonna do both.
I mean, as long as you're not dropping any names, it's fine.
Yeah, fuck them. But yeah, the year has felt like it's gone by pretty fast.
Yeah,
we just old guys sitting in a room now talking about how quick the years go by.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, it just seems the years fly, don't they?
Yep.
More and more.
All right, well, let's wrap it up then before that gets...
Before 2017 ends, we should wrap it up.
Before we die of old age. So if you have any questions or comments... we didn't fucking shout-outs. We didn't actually do shout-outs. We answered this question, but we didn't do shout-outs.
We don't have any shout-outs this week.
Did we not?
No, there were no comments on last week's episode.
Or you mean the week before's episode? Are you sure?
Last episode's episode.
Episode? I think Terry did.
Viscount?
Yep, Viscount. Terry's yelling, and Keisha doesn't even do it anymore.
She doesn't listen anymore.
Why does Keisha hate us all of a sudden?
I don't know.
That's sad.
I mean, we're family friendly. Well, no, we're not family friendly. We're friendly.
Viscount Terry said, thinking on Vin Diesel and D&D, it'd be difficult to play a normal game session, in quotes, I would think, with a celebrity like him there and knowing it's being recorded, right?
I didn't see that comment.
Oh, did you not?
No.
Well, he commented, he said that, Brandon, on the 13th, like right after the episode.
Oh.
I don't know. Do you think it would be more difficult to play with a with a celebrity?
Possibly. For myself, I could see it going two ways. I don't get super starstruck with celebrities, really, but I haven't met a whole lot of celebrities.
I was going to say, how many have you met, though? That's the question.
None. But I don't imagine I would get starstruck.
Right.
But so it could go either two ways. Either it would be perfectly fine and normal, and it would be a good time, or more realistically, knowing myself, there would be that inborn jealousy of who the fuck do they think they are just because they're a celebrity, they can sit at this D&D table. And I would be like passive-aggressively confrontational about things.
Yeah, that sounds like you.
I know. I wouldn't want to be. It would just happen. And the whole time in my head, I'd be like, why are you doing this?
Why are you being such an asshole to this person?
Quit.
He's just a normal person. Treat him as such. Fuck him. He's famous. Why don't you buy me a Maserati?
No, it's not about...
I know.
Them buying me things.
Sure.
It's just about the general principle of who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah. Just because people love you. I've never had that in my life.
Do you think you could do it?
I actually find myself being a little more starstruck when I meet somebody that I've wanted to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Dude, you've known me for like 12, 15 years. You don't have to be starstruck every time I walk in the room.
I can't help myself.
I'm just
man.
a podcaster
I
like
know,
you.
But it's so beautiful. So, I mean, I don't know. If I had been... I'd probably drool over him a little bit, if I was playing with him. D&D with him.
Yeah.
Cough.
Would you do your dwarf voice?
Yeah, I'd do my dwarf voice.
You wouldn't feel a little self-conscious because he's an actor?
No, as soon as I got into it. I mean...
I can't do it. I just tried to say hi. Hi, Vin Diesel.
What the fuck was that?
I'm a dwarf.
It was like a bad Schwarzenegger.
Say hi to Vin Diesel in your dwarf voice.
Vin Diesel, it's a pleasure to meet you.
That's good.
Thank you.
I think he would have the same reaction.
Yeah, he would.
Pat on the back, a little flex of a bicep.
Yeah, for sure.
Bench press a motorcycle and start the game.
So if you have any questions or comments or you'd like to hear yourself on air, you can call us at 978-DU-OGRES. That's 978-386-4737. You can also reach us on Twitter at Dueling Ogres. Email us, duelingogres@gmail.com, or leave a comment on the Facebook page. Check out our website. Do that thing.
Yep.
Need some writers.
We just need to shorten this.
Email us some writers.
The books and stories, just
Email
do
us.
it.
Listen to us on all the things. Give us
Yeah.
some reviews on the iTunes.
Yeah, give us a fucking review, for
Come
God's
on.
sake.
Just fucking get on the iTunes and do it. Is it that hard to fucking type? This is a good podcast. Thanks, guys.
5 stars.
5 stars,
You win.
fucking bangerang.
Look, I'm just going to say it now. If you leave a 5-star review, Remington will come to your house and sleep with you. Sexually, I'm not even like, it's not even cute, like, oh, just meet on your couch. No, he will have sex with you. No, no matter where you live, if you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That is a Dueling Ogre stamped guarantee. Sex with Remington. We are trading sexual favors for 5-star reviews on iTunes. I don't even think we can say this and be on iTunes. Literally, I don't think we can say this.
Yeah.
But we're saying it and we're doing it.
Yeah. You have to provide...
Sex for stars.
You have to provide proper documentation on your age.
Just leave 5 stars and we'll see.
No. 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 If you don't want to use freaking iTunes, you can use Satchel and you can donate to us. That would help us out as well. You can use Satchel as a very awesome player. And as an added benefit, we are on there and signed up that we can receive donations. So if you want to give to us that way.
And Rem will definitely sleep with you.
I
for
will
cash.
absolutely sleep with you.
Like
on
5
that.
stars, you give us 5 stars on iTunes. I'm going to be honest. Rem's going to give you about a 3.5 to a 4 on the 10 scale of sex.
Yeah, sure.
You give him money, any amount of money.
Yeah.
You're looking at like a solid 6.
Yeah, I mean, the lowest is $1, and that's 85 cents that goes to us. So.
Yeah, and he goes at it for $1.
Yeah, for sure.
He does not hold back.
So until next week, Ogres, keep your clubs blunt.
And your tusks sharp.
This is stupid. Good night. Good night.
He really just goes at it.
Just really plowing in there. Don't even... Yep, let's do it again.
I'm a big fucking idiot.
I'm just the stupidest person in the world.
Hey, Brandon, sorry it's so hard recording all the time being this fucking stupid.
It really is. It's the hardest thing ever. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Sorry, Brandon, I ruined the recording. I got spaghetti all over it.
I just dropped spaghetti everywhere.
It was Italian night.
I
I'm not sure what that voice is.
don't know. Hey, Brian! Just a small town girl, living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere.
Where's it going, Ram?
I don't know. Anywhere. Just a city boy,
What city?
born and raised in South Detroit.
What did he do? Did he take a vehicle at all?
He also took a midnight train
Where's he
going anywhere. Anywhere.
There's no destination in mind?
No. You don't even remember that we had a Twitter thing to talk about, do you?
Yeah, I remember that. It's the tip of my mind.
You're a fucking liar is what you are.
It's on the bottom of my brain.
It's on the top of your taint. Okay, we ready to do this?
Yeah, let me blow my nose.
Have I done prorated yet? I don't think I have.
No, I think you should do prolapse.
Prolapse?
Prolapse.
Okay.
No, that's gross. Don't do prolapse.
I'm doing prolapse. What is prolapse? I forget exactly. I know it's like prolapse valve. I don't remember what it means.
Yeah, it's like prolapsed anus. It's like whenever you have a small fissure and the muscle like blip. It's what a hernia is. It's a pretty gross word.
Prolapse of a part or organ of the body to slip forward or down. A prolapsed uterus. Vaginal prolapse. Rectal prolapse.
Yeah.
Uterine prolapse.
Oh boy.
Pelvic organ prolapse.
Say what?
Bladder prolapse. Rectocele prolapse.
Oh, you just click that next button, didn't you?
And then
Page 2.
page 2. I was looking for something more than just fucking
Butts and
umbilical.
vaginas.
Yeah, umbilical cord prolapse. Because, I mean, pelvic organ prolapse pretty much covers all of that. But, like, I know a heart can have a prolapse valve. Prolapse of the rectum.
Rectum.
Damn near killed him.
My nose is stuffed up now.
Your nose is always stuffed up, Brandon.
When I'm here, it is.
Yeah, you need to quit whining.
I can whine. I can whine if I want to. I can tell you to fuck off.
And if you don't fuck off, then you can fuck off.
And then more fucking off.
Fuck, fuck.
Fuck, fuck.
You want a cough drop?
It was the first iteration of the Roadrunner. Was less popular. Back, back. Ah, no, thank you.
Are you sure? It'll loosen you up.
Do I put it in my nose?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat a cough drop while we're recording.
I am.
It's like.
Just don't do that. Just tuck it in your cheek.
So what do you think about news, Rim? Ugh. That sounds so awful on headphones. Every time we do this joke and I make this comment, I listen and it sounds as gross as I think it does on headphones.
Yep. Ugh. Now I have 2 pieces.
It's like you're eating manicotti.
How does manicotti sound like things on my
Shells?
teeth?
Big shells that you just suck the cheese out of? Like,
Is that what you do with manicotti? Because I cut my manicotti.
no, I eat it like a conch shell full of cheese.
A conch shell full of cheese. Manicotti, the conch shell full of cheese.
Manicotti. More like mananati.
Wow.
This is already off to a good start.
Yeah, it is. We're gonna be good at things.
What is your thoughts, or what? Let me redo that. What is your thoughts? What is your thoughts about Viscounts?